Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to Albion Online. Today I am joined by ZiggyD, another YouTuber slash live streamer, and I will leave his information right below that like button in the description of this video.
We've both been playing a fair bit of Albion Online, exploring the alpha recently, and in doing so we've sort of been thinking about the game's potential. I think we both feel like this is a game that's got a fair bit of potential, right?
Yeah, I would definitely say that there is like a real big attraction for a lot of people to this game, mainly because it has a lot of really cool aspects to it, and it's one of these games where you basically can, only play Albion Online. There's always people looking to just play one game, and I feel like Albion Online definitely has that potential, like it has with like World of Warcraft and whatnot, where you just sit down and just focus on one game only. Like we cover like, I don't know, every single game that's out there pretty much, but for some people they definitely prefer games like this.
Yeah, that's it. Not to mention that this will be a game that you can play one game for your entire life, no matter where you are, on the toilet, on the bus, at work, since it's like on mobile and browsers and everything as well. So it's definitely the potential for overtaking people's lives. So it has some pretty, I guess, positive potential in that it could be a game that people end up spending a lot of time in. But at the same time, you need to kind of bring a pretty healthy skepticism into any of these sort of early access titles. I mean, recently I've been burned by ArcheAge, for example, and that was particularly tough on me, so I'm a bit more of a skeptic now moving into things. I try to be optimistic, but after something like ArcheAge, it gets a bit rough. So today we want to talk about something that could hold the game back, and that is the game being potentially pay to win. So we have sort of, what were you going to say, sorry?
No, I was just going to mention that the developers aren't saying that it's pay to win, but you never really know. We got to judge for ourselves. They very clearly pointed out that it was not, but it's tricky.
Yeah, the developers have definitely made their intentions are clear, that they do not want to make the game pay to win, but we kind of have to like say, okay, all right, that's what you're aiming for, but let's see how you actually go in terms of the implementation of your monetization. Because when you do a free-to-play game, they have to monetize some way. There's not that many games that can actually just survive off a purely cosmetic system. Path of Exile is like one of the closest games that I cover, and even then it still sells something that is a convenience feature in games, in stash tabs. And like there's very few games that can make a purely cosmetic system work. So a lot of them have to sort of sell some sort of in-game convenience or advantage or something like that. And what it ends up coming down to is how much impact it has on the game, and whether it is something that drives people away from the game or whether it's something that ruins the base enjoyment of the game for most people. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to cover the founders' bonuses, the gold system, which is probably the major one, and then the premium account system, and talk a bit about each of these things. So shall we start with the founders' bonuses, Lowko? I have the founders' bonuses here, and you get some items basically with these founders' bonuses. Yeah,
you get some items and a whole bunch of gold as well, right? Like that's the main thing. they're surprisingly powerful. So for anyone wondering really quickly how it works, basically you have the founders packs that you can buy when you get the game. First off, the game is going to be free to play, but you can get these founders bonuses. And on top of that, whenever you are playing the game, you can also buy an in-game currency. So for example, you have the gold basically in the game is something you can purchase, and while there's also silver in the game, gold is a pretty significant aspect. So yeah, let's have a look at the founders bonuses first. Yeah,
so it's like right off the bat, it sounds kind of bad, but we're going to try and take some time here to actually explore whether this is actually a bad thing. Like initially, like when I first saw the founders system alone, that's sort of enough to make me go, ooh, that might not be very good, because it's very, very similar to the sort of founder systems that ArcheAge used. The core difference for me here is just on the whole founder system in general is that this is much more of an indie developer than ArcheAge was. This isn't a major AAA developer here making a founders pack for a game that they can already afford to make. This is a founders pack system that's actually funding development. So that sort of gives me some comfort at least. So I wouldn't feel too bad about buying into an alpha in this particular case compared to something like with Tryon. So how do you sort of feel about the founders pack system in general?
I don't mind the founders pack all too much. The only thing that is a little bit confusing, and that I've actually had a couple of subscribers message me about, is the fact that it's currently in alpha, but the actual game does not even have a release date yet. It's likely somewhere next year. And the only real argument that I have against the founders pack is the fact that you can already buy it. Because, you know, a lot of people are gonna be investing time into this game this month, and I'm pretty certain that a whole lot of them will also not even be aware that it will be reset by the end of the month, and, you know, you basically are losing all of that progress. So, you know, a lot of people can already purchase that Founders Pack, and while they are quite pricey, I don't really mind that too much, but just the fact that everything is already, you know, up for purchase right now, even though the game doesn't have a release date yet. But, you know, the actual items, they're pretty decent. You get some cool cosmetic things as well, and some in-game gold to start off with. And other than that, you know, the one thing, well, that most people won't really like about it is the price of them in general. I believe the most expensive one is $100, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that is just simply a lot of money for a Founders Pack, and you're gonna get some significant advantages if you do purchase that.
Yeah, that's it. It's always kind of like a risk thing, because people tend to see these as an investment, when it really is like a donation to the developers essentially. By purchasing one of these Founders Packs, firstly, you have to know that there's no guarantee that the game will ever actually get released, and that's happened time and time again with these sorts of games, with these Founder Packs and with early access. So it's kind of like the early access thing in general, but I feel like there's too much risk of us having an entire discussion on early access and that, so we'll probably move things along a little bit. And I want to talk about some of these specific items in the Founders Pack. We'll just look at the Legendary Founder Pack, because that includes everything that the Epic and Veteran Packs includes as well. There's a few things here that are just purely cosmetic stuff, like little tags for your names and some stuff you can sort of put in your house and some fancy stuff like that. But around the Legendary's Explorer equipment is where you start to get some items that you get at the start of the game, at the very start of the game, as soon as you get in, that can potentially give you an advantage. So I wouldn't mind sort of going over each one of these. The first is the Legendary Explorer's equipment. You got a chance to use this. What did you think about it, Loko? Did you think it's a significant sort of thing?
It definitely speeds up the early part of the game. I mean, I've been comparing myself a little bit while starting off. You know, just with the equipment alone, you can kill stuff a heck of a lot faster than other people can. And you also get this horse and the, what is it? It's an ox, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Which you can use to carry a lot of stuff. And I've noticed that I've started right off the bat, right when the game actually came out. And you see other people logging in as well that don't have all of these fancy tools. And at that point, you will just simply really start pulling ahead within a couple of hours. And there's always these people that really want to go ahead and be the very best. And I'm definitely one of those, you know. So it's a very, very strong way to start off. But then again, you can just do all of these things as well at your own pace without spending any of that money. You can just go ahead and just get everything by yourself as well. It's just gonna take you quite a while to, for example, get like your first horse or your first like tier 3 pieces and whatnot. I don't know how you feel about it though.
So the Legendary Explorer's equipment that you get is one that a lot of people expressed concerns to me about, whether this was like way better than normal, like tier 3. It's tier 3 in game. Yeah. Whether it's way better than that or anything like that. I actually found out pretty quickly that the Legendary Explorer's equipment is almost kind of just a cosmetic. Like, it does give you a bit of a boost because you can equip it earlier than you would be able to get tier 3 normally, but it's actually weaker than tier 3 gear. Tier 3 crafted gear without any quality bonuses or anything is actually better than the Explorer's equipment. So it's not that good. I feel like that didn't have that much of an impact. I don't really think the Looking Glass or the house has a very big impact either. None of that stuff matters. The statue does literally nothing. But the two that sort of do something are the horse and the ox. Now, the horse isn't that big. It's not that hard to get horses. Getting one a little bit earlier gives you basically a move speed boost, so you can get around the maps a little bit faster. It's not a big deal, just the horse by itself, but I actually think that ox is a pretty big deal. The ox greatly in the current game increases your carry weight by like a massive margin. It's like insane, ridiculous how much you can carry with an ox. And this I actually think will make a pretty big difference, because this means you can shift the entire contents of a stash from one town to another town like that. There's instant stashes in the game, and you can shift everything from one town to another town. And you can do kind of what we labeled ox hopping, where you fill up your inventory to the point where you can't move anymore while you're harvesting resources. Then you mount up on your ox and move to another tree or another resource node and then harvest that. And you can essentially ox hop around, get to like 400% capacity, and then take that back to town, carry a huge amount of resources back there. So you can really boost sort of how much resources you can shift around with that. And in a game where logistics is a pretty big deal, I think the ox actually does offer a pretty significant bonus, and it doesn't seem as easy to get an ox in game. It takes quite a bit longer than just getting a horse. at least from what I saw. So I'm a bit concerned about the Ox. The reason like this is a concern, like why does this even matter? As you said, you can just go at your own pace. I think in Albion there's like this initial land grab for a lot of people who want to kind of play this game a bit more competitively and get like their guild to have a good foothold. If they don't have these founder pack things, especially the Ox, I think are going to be quite a bit behind. So I am a bit concerned about that. How are you sort of feeling about it?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, to give everyone a little bit of an example, for example, if you're running around on your horse at the start, or you're going by foot even, you can basically get some equipment, or you can mine some stuff as well, but your equipment load is gonna go up very, very quickly. So most of the time you're gonna have to go back within like 10 or so minutes. So basically you go out in the world, you harvest the stuff, and then you mount up or you walk back. And after 10 minutes you're gonna have to do that, because else you just simply stop walking. If you're overloaded, you simply are gonna stop walking. But with the Ox, exactly like you were explaining, you can almost mine out an entire zone and still be able to walk around, especially in the starter zones. You saw those Oxes a lot, and what would happen is that you would be allowed to probably a little bit over an hour. I didn't do a full run with it myself, but if you're gonna do that Ox hopping, you can you can walk around for at least like 5 times as much as you can with just by foot or with a horse. So it's quite insane how much more you can really carry, and on top of that, exactly like you were saying, is that you're gonna be able to buy the very first ground. You're gonna buy the very first houses and whatnot, and it is gonna be a pretty big deal. But I'm not too concerned about it, because then again, you're also spending a lot of money on that, and you are paying the full price in order to get those mounts. And I personally, if they wouldn't have given me the founders pack, I probably would not have purchased that myself.
Yeah, that's it. So there's definitely a bit of an advantage there. They're not going to take these out of the founders packs, since people have already paid money for them. I think maybe something that could happen would be a little bit of a rebalance on the Ox to prevent Ox hopping, because I don't really think it's very
it's not fair. No.
Very sort of engaging gameplay to Ox hop from node to node. So maybe there's something that could change from that and make Oxes mostly just for shifting resources between towns and doing sort of like big trade movements and for trading and things like that, rather than as essentially as a harvesting tool. I would like to see a change like that happen. I think that would make the initial bonuses from the founders packs a little bit less advantageous and pay to winny, if you'll allow me to say that. So let's move on to gold. This is the big one. Essentially, I'll briefly explain how the gold system works. So silver is the main currency in the game. For killing mobs, you get silver. Silver is used in everything. Silver is used every time you craft something, repair something. It's used for upkeep on buildings, like upkeep on land. It's used for paying upkeep on like your alliances, and it's basically used for everything, including trading. So silver is vitally important, and you will spend a bit of time grinding silver. You'll do dungeon runs to kill humanoid enemies, which are the things that drop silver, with your guild to pay for repair costs, to pay for upkeep, and to pay for everything else you want to do, basically. Now, gold is the purchasable currency. It's the RMT currency. And it essentially works in place of silver. So anything that costs silver, nearly anything, not everything can have gold used on it, but nearly everything, you can flick a little toggle and you'll use gold instead of silver. So essentially the idea is you use 10 gold instead of 100 silver or something like that, and you get to keep the 100 silver in your pocket and use it for something else. So it's essentially interchangeable with silver. You can't use it on the marketplace to trade with other people, but you can... I believe, I'm pretty sure you can trade gold to other people, but at least by virtue of using gold for things that cost silver, then you can save that silver and use it to trade with. So it's essentially not that different to buying silver, just a slightly different. So that's essentially how it works. How do you feel about the gold system overall, Lowko?
Well, there's a couple of points to it, right? So the very first point that I would like to make is that a lot of people will not like this system straight from the get-go, simply because, well, you're gonna have an advantage if you spend more money into the game, and if you want to participate at the very highest level, you're gonna have to spend some sort of money in order to actually, be anywhere relevant. So there's obviously going to be the people that will dislike it right from the get-go. However, whether you like it or not, the business has to be run, right? They need to make money one way or another, and obviously they could have chosen to go with subscription fees, or they could have chosen for just purely cosmetic things. But just when you keep that in mind, I feel like the whole gold system and the ability to actually buy gold, I feel like that is still decently okay. There's a couple of things that I personally would like to change about it. For example, the fact that you can't trade it to silver, because when the game actually comes out, you will be allowed to actually trade gold that you buy with real money, also for silver, and you can actually trade it with other people as well. You could already see this a little bit in the alpha. People, for example, like trading 100 gold for like, how much was it? I don't know exactly, like 5,000 silver or something like that. So there is going to be a bit of a marketplace as well for that. So that does mean that the people that spend more money on the game will ultimately have a bigger advantage. But on top of that, I feel like you can go ahead and actually play the game without spending any money. I think a lot of people are going to do exactly that. But a matter of fact is, you know, businesses do need to make money. And I can imagine, like, if you're working a full-time job and you come home in the weekend or something and you want to play some and you actually are able to spend some money on the game, I can imagine that is going to be something that will be happening a lot. I personally can I would totally do that if I would work a full-time normal job, so to say. Not so much what we do here, but if I would work a full-time job and in the weekend I just want to sit down and play some Albion, I can totally imagine myself spending some money on the game just to still be, you know, keeping up with my guild friends and the other people that do have the chance to play the game every single day. So that's basically my thoughts on there. And on top of that, it also sort of like counters the illegal markets. There's obviously still gonna be the chance that people will be selling silver in-game as well for real money. And that happens in pretty much every single MMORPG, right? But if you do have the option to basically use the official website and actually get it in a legal way, I feel like that's gonna be a very, very big plus for a lot of people. And you know, I'm a little bit on either side of the fence, so to say. So I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, that's it. It does counter RMT, like in outside less safe markets, essentially, by providing an officially sanctioned. That's often an argument for this sort of system, that the developers handle the RMT instead of you going to an external third-party site, which, you know, have risks associated with them. So that's definitely one of the points for. There are a few points for and against this sort of system. I agree with your idea. It's not something I thought about, of stopping you to be able to trade gold from silver. I think that would make the system feel a little bit better. You would still kind of use gold in place of silver things and end up with more silver by virtue of using gold instead. But disallowing direct trading of it would, I think, probably be pretty beneficial. There's a few ways of looking at this whole system. One way is that it's a way of skipping some of the grind. If you own X amount of land, you need to essentially get out and do some dungeon runs every day to be able to pay for the silver requirements for that land, to pay for the upkeep. And that's essentially just a time-based grind. So the idea is that could be just a system pay to grind less. And that's a system that a lot of people who are time poor but have a little bit of extra cash don't really have a problem with that sort of system. So, and I like, it's not my preferred system because I have a lot of time to dedicate to gaming and I don't have that much money. But for other people, I can definitely see the appeal of that. And because it's appealing for a good amount of people, I don't really have a problem with that. I think the biggest sort of question for this system is the degree of impact it will have on the game, the degree of advantage to be obtained. Now, the developers have said that they want to aim for this to be somewhat similar to EVE Online, where in EVE Online, you can essentially buy anything in the game with real money. It's possible to do that. You can buy the in-game currency and you can buy things with that in-game currency. Now, this will be the same in Albion Online. The developers of Albion have said that they like the way EVE operates and they'd like it to be the same like that. So just sort of for context, for those of you guys who don't play EVE, EVE, you can pay for advantage in-game. Yet the EVE community doesn't see this as pay to win. They don't see this as an issue. Due to the way the economy is designed, due to the fact that things can be destroyed, you can pay several $100s to get a massive capital ship or something like that, and then just have it destroyed by another player. There's obviously parallels here between EVE Online and Albion, because everything that you buy with real money in Albion, or get through paying real money in Albion, can be destroyed or taken by other players. So a lot of people like to say, spending $100 in Albion Online just makes you a juicy target for someone else, and there's certainly some virtue to that. The difference here is the issue I see with the comparison to EVE and the Albion devs aiming for it to be like EVE is that in EVE Online, nothing is created by the developer when you pay money. You buy you buy a Plex, which is like a time-based subscription system, and then you sell that to other player for ISK, which is the in-game currency, the silver of EVE, and all that silver is generated by players. Now, when you buy gold in Albion Online, that currency is actually just generated by the developers. So it actually injects money into the economy. And I can see that this might have an issue. It really is too early to say the potential impact of this issue, like how bad it will be, whether it will even be an issue. But that's the problem I see, a potential problem I see, that it might not go to plan of it being like EVE Online. It might not end up so well. That's kind of what I'm worried about. Do you guys kind of have any thoughts on that idea that currency is created by the developers?
Yeah, on the one hand, you know, you can obviously see that the market would be flooded. Let's say someone wins the lottery and buys for like $100,000 in in-game gold. What would happen to the market, right? Because at that point, the servers would be flooded with an insane amount of in-game currency and everything could drop almost instantaneously. But on the other hand, they do have a lot of ways to also sort of like remove gold out of the game with that upkeep and with the fact that you need to be paying money to NPCs in order to actually craft stuff. So it really is difficult to say. Like, if everyone is going to be buying gold, I feel like it's going to be an issue. But if it's only like 1 in 10 players that will actually end up buying gold, I feel like this could definitely be working out. But it is risky to say, and it is a bit early to say it right now. And yeah, like it's tough. But the one thing that I wanted to point out as well that I didn't say earlier is that even though you can buy gold in the game directly and actually trade it to silver right now as well, and you can actually buy the later game items as well, so you can buy the tier 4 items or the tier 5 or 6 or whatever. You still do need to actually progress in the game as well. That's what a lot of people seem to be missing. You still need to actually have the Destiny board achievement in order to actually wear the weapon.
You can't just buy the best gear and equip it straight away. You still need to kind of work your way into that gear, which is definitely a point for the game system, I think.
Yeah, no, it takes a long time. It's not like you're gonna just be able to buy the best stuff in the game and instantly be like a master mage or whatever, right? Like you're still gonna have to spend like days just grinding mobs in order to actually wear that one weapon that you purchased. So I feel like that is something that is oftentimes missed, and I feel like if you are just gonna be progressing in the game normally, so let's say you are going to be focused on being a ranger and eventually being able to wear that bow, I think at that point, once you actually unlock the achievement, in most situations, you will also be able to actually craft it by just progressing through the game. So I feel like the main impact, the fact that the main impact that buying gold will have is those people that will die a lot in PvP, right? Like you're gonna be able to just sort of purchase the stuff again after losing it. But I feel like if you only really look to have like a set or two of every single weapon or of like the highest weapons, I feel like you can craft those just by yourself if you go ahead and just craft up while you're killing mobs and craft and actually like gather stuff while moving around in the world. So
I think the potential issue there is going to be at the higher levels of play, like the larger guild levels of play, because if you have a guild that's injecting a substantial amount of money into gold, then they're going to be able to afford the upkeep on a lot more land and maintain control of a lot more land. Now, guild size caps and things like that can help counteract some of the issues there, but I think there are some potential problems there with, by having more land means you have more land to farm, you can produce more, and your guild becomes more and more wealthy, and it becomes difficult for a guild full of people that aren't paying, like a guild full of free-to-play players. They're not going to be able to keep up with those guilds. And when this is essentially a PvP game, there's a lot of competition, and that's going to be like a big focus of the game for a lot of people. I do think there's potential issue there. Another topic I kind of wanted to bring up in regards to gold was the concern that some people have expressed to me that the developers will make the game they'll balance the game such that you feel compelled to buy gold. You feel like you need to buy gold. The devs have said that they don't want this to be the case, obviously, again, so I'm just putting that out there. But there's definitely a problem or a worry for that in the future. I mean, that sort of thing could change in the future, and anything based on the game now could change. Like, simply increasing repair costs by 50% could mean that a solo player or a player in a small guild doing a dungeon run to farm silver will leave the dungeon with less silver than when they went in because of repair costs. Repair costs are pretty high in this game already, and if they slightly tweak it, one way or the other, it can really change things and really change how attractive it feels to buy gold or how necessary it feels to buy gold, which is the concern there. I can say one positive thing, at least at the moment, in the alpha, you can farm dungeons and make massive silver profit even after your repair costs, if you have a decently effective guild. We had like a very medium-sized guild, nothing particularly crazy, nothing particularly skilled, And we went out to a few moderate level dungeons, and we made excellent silver, even after our repair costs on our tier 4 gear and such. So this sort of thing could change depending on like more players farming out dungeons means less silver available because of the silver growth system, and it could change with balancing. But at the moment in the alpha, that concern of the developers tuning the game so that it feels necessary to buy gold isn't founded. I think it's unfounded in the current game. Do you sort of feel like you would have had to have purchased gold at any point?
Not really. I did play the game, and I mainly did crafting. So, you know, I basically did end up using some of the gold that I got from the founder's pack to actually basically just turn those materials into like fine materials, refined materials, and things I can actually use. But I could have gotten that silver just fine by myself as well, if I would have gone ahead and actually done some more dungeons. So that is definitely true. Now, I do feel like, you know, once again, to come back to that business aspect that we talked about earlier, if the company actually all of a sudden needs more money, or the company isn't running very well, and the higher ups in the business are saying, hey, we need to somehow, some way generate more money, figure it out, they can indeed just go ahead and change a couple of these parameters and just all of a sudden increase it. And that would be extremely worrisome. Whereas, for example, if they would have like the subscription model like you have in World of Warcraft, where you just pay a certain money or a certain amount of dollars or euros or whatever per month, you know, that would be outrageous. That would happen. Like if they would all of a sudden like increase that by another $5, right? Like that would be some serious problems followed up by that. But I feel like if they're just gonna casually increase the amount of repair costs by 25%, I mean the higher guilds would really be bothered by that. But people that just casually play really do not care. So, you know, like I feel like there is definitely some risk involved, definitely in future, because they're pointing out right now that they are not planning on that happening. But, you know, guess it or not, like, you know, the developers will not want this, but maybe the people that actually handle the money side of things and the actual, like, management will have benefits.
My response to that is, no tricks, no traps. The famous quote from Tryon for Arcade. No tricks, no traps. And, you know, that's what one thing, a developer will say one thing, but it might not always end up that way.
Yeah.
So there is some worrisome potential there. I mean, so far the developers have been very communicative and very positive, and there's nothing to suggest that they will abuse it, but the possibility of them doing so is definitely there. So I'd like to move on to the premium account system, because this is the final sort of issue of, you know, real money and whether the game may or may not be pay to win. The premium account system, let me kind of scroll over how this works just here. There's been some details revealed about this. I don't think it's fully detailed yet, but the premium account essentially gives you bonus silver yield from monster kills, faster Destiny board progression, and potentially some other perks. So I don't really know what those other perks are yet. The main things, though, you get more silver from kills and faster Destiny board progression.
Yeah, increased carry load, faster crafting, faster gathering, pretty much everything goes a lot faster.
Yeah, so you're pretty much better at everything. I mean, that right off the bat sounds pretty bad. At least let me make one of these things not sound so bad. Let me play sort of the defense here and say that I think the silver yield from monsters is, I think that's a non-issue, firstly. The reason being is that you essentially buy the premium account with gold, or, you know, with in-game currency. They said they want it to be a bit like the Eve Plex system, that you can buy it, you can earn it in-game essentially. So the increased silver yield is, if it's tuned well, if it's tuned properly, will just be to offset the cost of buying the premium account in the first place. So that, I think, is a non-issue. I think the silver yield is a non-issue because you're essentially paying silver to get increased silver yield, you know? And maybe it will give you more silver if you farm a shit ton, but that's not really that pay to win, I don't think. But if you don't farm much, you're probably going to end up losing silver on that account, bonus account, that premium account. So the real issues are the Destiny board progression and the faster crafting and that. How do you feel about this section of the game, Lowko?
So I am okay. So about the whole gold system and the fact that you can buy gold, you know, I think we're both agreeing that is sort of to be seen, right? Like we don't really know exactly how that is going to turn out. We aren't completely sure if it will be like a huge impact, but this I don't really like, okay? The fact that you can just get more XP and actually just progress faster and, you know, just be, like, not so much stronger. I was almost going to say stronger. If that would be the case, it would be completely stupid, but...
Yeah, they definitely said they wanted to make sure that this didn't make anyone stronger in PvP. Yeah. That's something they have been very firm about. So that's at least a positive there.
Yeah, but in general, just... Once again, if you're not going to really plan on playing this game very casually, right, and you plan on actually competing at the highest level, which I know a lot of people that are watching the videos will be, because we're trying to be, you know, the best gamers we can be, and we're trying to actually find the best strategy in order to perform at the highest level. I feel like you're gonna be absolutely unable to do that without a premium account. Just the simple idea that everyone else that you're going up against is gonna be able to get more XP and more stuff to carry and faster crafting and faster gathering and all that stuff. Just that very idea will mean that you're gonna have to buy this sort of premium account system in order to be at that level. And I do not like this. That's like basically a second way to monetize it, even though it comes forth from that whole gold system. It's basically a second way to monetize it. And I feel like it's not really necessary, and I feel like it's sort of unfair to a lot of people. I don't know what your thoughts on it, though. Are you on the same way? Or?
It does seem a bit double dippy, doesn't it? It seems like. Yeah.
It's so...
Which, I definitely am not a fan of this system as well, even though I'll defend the additional silver yield, and I will also preclude this by saying that everything here can be earned in-game. Like, a good player will be able to earn them way into a premium account, but the counterpoint to that is that someone always pays for this. There's always someone who's paying for this. It might not be you, but someone has paid for this. That's the way it works in these sorts of games. So I'm definitely not a fan. Just the idea that you get faster Destiny board progression. You're already speeding things up by using gold instead of silver because you're saving time from farming. You're not having to spend as much time farming silver. So that's already saving your time. And then you can save more time in terms of your Destiny board progression, which, as we were saying, is like, oh, with the gold system, you can buy the top level gear, but you can't equip it. You still have to earn the right to equip that good gear. This system allows you to earn that right faster and easier by paying money. And that kind of like, it almost takes away even makes the gold system worse in my mind. So I'm definitely not a fan of the premium account system. It's concerning to me. I think this is the most negative out of all of the different parts of the game. I don't really have much to defend this apart from saying that apart from what I've already mentioned about silver.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's unnecessary. I think that gold system would be able to work out just fine by itself. I don't know what their expectations are on this. I haven't talked to the developers about this at all. But maybe if they're expecting 1 in 10 players or 1 in 20 players to try out this system, it may be worth it for them. But I feel like it's not really something they should have even brought up in the first place. And it makes me sort of cautious for the future of it, you know? Like, if they're already trying to, in a way, money grab in this system, I feel like it is just not very good thing for the future. Now, as it is right now, though, to come back to the very first point, as it is right now, you can get everything in the game without spending anything, okay? You can go ahead and you know, have the best gear and have the highest crafting and have everything unlocked in the game by not spending a penny. You know, you can go ahead and just get everything, but you are gonna take a significantly longer time than if you would spend some money. There's probably gonna be that guy that will spend way too much money on the game and play like 5 hours a week, who will still be further ahead than the guy that plays like, you know, 5 hours a day. And I'm not a big fan of that, but then again, they do need to pay for this somehow, and I feel like subscription models and just a model to buy the game first off before even trying it out is something that you don't really see anymore in 2015. So, you know, I wish they sort of just left it at the whole gold system, which I am okay with, but this premium account system, I feel like it's unnecessary, and it is just gonna sort of feel like they're money grabbing to me. I don't know if that is just me, but it doesn't feel right.
I felt like I could kind of sit okay with the gold system as long as it was well balanced, but I do feel like this is too much. And I'm like, guys, I really want Albion to do well. I really wanted Arcade to do well. The MMOs genre needs these games. It's so stale at the moment. Theme park MMO after theme park MMO that do nothing different, that don't stray from it. Albion Online is trying to do something different, and I want to see that succeed. But this sort of system, I feel, does pull away from that, and it's going to turn a lot of people away from the game. And yeah, I'm not a fan. I would be okay with a premium account that offered some convenience features. I don't really know what convenience features they would be. Maybe if they had some sort of like limited listing on the trade house or something. Like I honestly don't know. I don't know what convenience features they could offer. But if this was just a sort of a convenience thing, then I would be okay with that. But when it's straight up, you will progress faster than everyone else with the premium account. I think it's too much. It's too double dippy. It's yeah, it sort of pulls away from the game for me. So guys, I do hope they rethink the premium account a little bit in terms of what it offers. But I don't know what they could really offer for a premium account that would be attractive, that wouldn't be quite as pay to win as this particular feature is at the moment.
Yeah, so to basically close it off, okay, and not end on a negative note, the game is a lot of fun to play. Like, if you haven't tried it yet and you do look to try it out, I would highly appreciate it, because it's really fun. But just keep in mind that there are aspects to the game that can work out in sort of like a pay-to-win fashion. And if you're gonna look to compete at the very highest level, like a lot of people will try, be prepared to spend, be prepared to throw some money at your screen, because it's gonna be pretty much necessary. But you can get everything in the game without spending anything at all.
Yeah, in the end, even if these systems do go through as they are, I think it will probably still be a pretty fun experience for people, even if they don't end up spending any money. It's just, I think this is the sort of thing that potentially holds it back from ever reaching its full potential. I guess for me to close on a positive is that you can't buy from a shop things that can't be produced in-game. You can't buy a tractor that moves faster than what you can produce in game, and I like that. I at least like that Albion have said that they're not going to have a cash store in which you can buy more powerful items. For me to close on my positive note, at least it's not going the full arc edge on us, guys. No, I think Albion has some potential. Definitely worth keeping an eye on, guys. There's some concerns here, and if nothing else, I hope this discussion opens these thoughts up to you guys, and that you guys discuss it on the forums, you guys discuss it amongst each other, and think about it yourselves, and that it helps you make a decision on the game, whether you want to get into it or not, and helps, hopefully, the developers maybe make some better decisions about the production and the development of the game. So anyway, I think that closes us out. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching, and
I'm Loco. Thank you all for tuning in.
Alrighty, have a good one, guys. And cut. Awesome, man.